I still remember the exact moment my world flipped upside down. I was sitting at my desk, finishing up a client presentation, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Derek, my husband. I smiled before I even opened it, thinking maybe he was confirming what time I should arrive at his mother's party. The words on the screen didn't make sense at first. I read them once, then twice, then 3 times. You don't need to come. My mother doesn't want you here. My hands started shaking. I set my phone down on the desk like it had burned me. For a full minute, I just stared at it, waiting for another message to pop up. Something like, "Just kidding," or "Sorry, that was meant for someone else." But nothing came. The message just sat there, cold and final. This wasn't just any party. This was the housewarming celebration for the mansion I had bought for Patricia and Joel. The mansion that cost me $847,000. The mansion I had worked myself nearly to exhaustion to afford. Let me back up a little bit, because you need to understand how we got here. 2 months ago, Derek came home from visiting his parents looking worried. He sat down at our kitchen table and told me his mom and dad were struggling. Their old house needed repairs they couldn't afford, and they were behind on their mortgage payments. He looked so sad, so concerned for them. And me? I wanted to help. I always wanted to help. I had been married to Derek for 7 years, and in those 7 years, I had been trying to win Patricia's approval. She never liked me much. I could see it in the way her smile never quite reached her eyes when she looked at me. I could hear it in the tone she used when she talked to me, like she was explaining something to a not very bright child. But I kept trying. I kept hoping that one day she would see me as a real daughter, not just the woman who married her son. So when Derek told me about his parents' money problems, I saw an opportunity. Not just to help them, but to finally prove myself. I decided I would buy them a house, a beautiful house, a dream house, and I would surprise them with it at their 40th wedding anniversary party. For 2 months, I worked like crazy. I took on extra consulting projects. I worked late into the night and all through the weekends. Derek thought I was just busy with regular work stuff. He had no idea I was saving every extra dollar, building up enough money for a down payment on a house that would make his parents comfortable for the rest of their lives. I looked at dozens of properties. I wanted it to be perfect. Finally, I found it. A gorgeous 5-bedroom mansion in a quiet neighborhood with a big backyard and a 2-car garage. It had everything. High ceilings, modern kitchen, beautiful hardwood floors. I imagined Patricia cooking in that kitchen, Joel working in the garden. I imagined Sunday dinners there with the whole family, everyone happy and together. The down payment alone was $300,000. I had to take money from my savings, from my business account, from investments I had been building for years. But I didn't care. This was going to change everything. I remember the day I presented them with the house deed. It was at a small family dinner 3 weeks ago. Just Derek, his parents, and his sister Vanessa. I had the deed in a fancy envelope with a big bow on it. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Patricia opened the envelope slowly. She read the paper inside. Her face was blank for a moment, then she looked up at me. I was waiting for tears of joy, for a huge hug, for her to finally tell me I was like a real daughter to her. Instead, she gave me this tight little smile and said, "Well, this is quite generous." That was it. No hug, no tears, just quite generous. Like I had brought a pie to dinner or something. Vanessa immediately asked if I would help her buy a condo too. Just like that. No congratulations to her parents, no thank you to me. Just, what about me? Joel, Derek's dad, was the only one who seemed really happy. He had tears in his eyes and gave me a big hug and thanked me over and over. That made me feel a little better, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Patricia's reaction. Derek was quiet. He kissed my cheek and said it was very nice of me, but he seemed uncomfortable. I told myself he was just overwhelmed by such a big gesture. I told myself everything was fine. Over the next 3 weeks, Patricia and Joel moved into the mansion. Patricia called me a few times to tell me about problems with the house. The water pressure wasn't quite right. She didn't like the colour of one of the bedrooms. The backyard needed more work. Every call felt like a complaint, never a thank you. But I pushed those feelings down. I told myself she was just stressed from moving. Then Patricia announced she was having a big housewarming party. She invited all her friends, all the neighbours, extended family members I had never even met. Derek showed me the invitation list. Over 30 people. I started planning what I would wear, thinking about what dish I should bring. I even bought a new dress for the occasion. And then, sitting at my desk on what should have been a normal Thursday afternoon, I got that text. "You don't need to come. My mother doesn't want you here," I typed back with trembling fingers. Understood. That was all I could manage. One word, because if I wrote more, I might have written things I couldn't take back. Or worse, I might have begged. I might have asked why, or what did I do wrong? And I was tired of begging for scraps of kindness from these people. After I sent that message, I just sat there. My presentation was still open on my computer screen. My coffee was getting cold next to me. Outside my window, it was a beautiful, sunny day. Everything looked normal, but nothing felt normal. Something clicked inside me in that moment. It was like a fog I had been living in for 7 years suddenly cleared. I started thinking about everything, really thinking about it for the first time. I thought about every family vacation I had paid for. Every time Vanessa asked to borrow money that was never paid back. Every expensive gift Patricia accepted with barely a thank you. Every time Derek made excuses for his mother's coldness toward me. Every time I was left out of family photos or forgotten at family gatherings. I thought about the $15,000 Vanessa borrowed last year for a business investment that never happened. I thought about the time Patricia told me at Christmas that I worked like a man. And that's why Derek and I didn't have children yet. I thought about how Derek never stood up for me. Not once. Not ever. And I thought about that mansion. That beautiful, expensive mansion that I had nearly destroyed my health to buy for them. The mansion where Patricia was right now at this very moment, throwing a party that I wasn't allowed to attend. I looked at the clock. It was 2:47 in the afternoon. The party started at 6:00. I had just over 3 hours. I picked up my phone and made the first call. Then the second, then the third. With each call, my hands got steadier. My voice got calmer. By the fourth call, I wasn't shaking anymore. When I finished making my arrangements, I grabbed my purse and my car keys. I had one more stop to make before I showed up at that party. Because I was going to that party after all. And I was bringing some very important papers with me. The leather steering wheel was cool under my hands as I drove across town. My heart was beating fast, but not from panic, from clarity. For the first time in 7 years, I knew exactly what I needed to do. In the passenger seat next to me was a folder. A simple manila folder that held the power to change everything. But before I explain what was in that folder, I need to tell you how I ended up here, in this car, on this day, finally ready to stand up for myself. I met Derek 8 years ago at a coffee shop. I had just started my own consulting business, helping small companies with their technology systems. I was working 18-hour days, living on coffee and hope, trying to build something from nothing. Derek worked at a bank as a manager. He seemed stable, kind, and supportive. When he asked me out, I said yes. Those first months were wonderful. He was interested in my business, asking questions about my work, celebrating my small victories. When I landed my first big client, he took me out to dinner. When I was stressed about a project, he rubbed my shoulders and told me I could do anything I set my mind to. I thought I had found a partner, a real teammate. We got married after dating for a year. Looking back now, I realize that's when things started to change. Small things at first. Derek would make little comments about how much I worked. His mother Patricia started showing up at our apartment unannounced, always with some problem that needed fixing, always looking around at our stuff with this expression I couldn't quite read. Then my business started to really take off. Within 2 years of our marriage, I was making 3 times what Derek made at the bank. I never made a big deal about it. I never threw it in his face. Money was just money to me, something that helped us live comfortably, nothing more. But it became something different to Derek and his family. Patricia started treating every family gathering like a business meeting. She would mention things they needed, a new refrigerator, car repairs, help with property taxes. Never directly asking, but always mentioning, and Derek would look at me with these sad eyes until I offered to help, which I always did. Vanessa was even worse. She would call me her favourite sister-in-law when she needed something, which was funny because I was Derek's only wife. She borrowed money for everything, rent, car payments, that business investment that never happened. She promised to pay me back every single time. She never did. Not once. And when I gently reminded her about the money, she would act offended, like I was being petty for even mentioning it. The worst part was how they all treated me while taking my money. Patricia still gave me that cold smile. She still made little comments about my work, my clothes, my choice to focus on my career. She forgot to invite me to family events, then acted surprised when I showed up because Derek told me about them. She criticized everything about me while happily accepting every dollar I gave. And Derek? He always made excuses. She's just old-fashioned. That's just how she is. She doesn't mean anything by it. Never once did he stand up for me. Never once did he tell his mother to treat his wife with respect. He just stood there, quiet and uncomfortable, while his family picked me apart and picked my wallet clean. But I kept trying. I kept believing that if I was just generous enough, kind enough, patient enough, they would finally accept me. Finally love me. Finally see me as family. That's why I bought the house. That massive, expensive, beautiful house. It was going to be my final proof that I was worthy of being a part of this family. Except there was something about that house that nobody knew. Something I hadn't told anyone, not even Derek. I was going to explain it all at the party, but now my plans had changed. When I bought the house, I didn't actually buy it outright. The full price was $847,000. I put down $300,000, every bit of savings I had. But for the remaining $547,000, I had to take out a mortgage. And here's the thing about mortgages. Someone has to qualify for them. Patricia and Joel couldn't qualify on their own. Their credit scores were terrible. They had debt, late payments, and barely any income since they were both retired. The bank wouldn't give them a loan for a house that expensive. So I did what I thought was a generous thing. I co-signed on the mortgage. I became a co-borrower, legally responsible for the loan alongside Patricia and Joel. I thought I was helping. I thought I was making it possible for them to have this beautiful home. I signed all the papers at the closing, thick stacks of documents that I reviewed carefully, including one particular document, a co-borrower agreement that gave me certain rights if I ever decided to withdraw from the mortgage obligation. At the time, I never imagined I would need those rights. At the time, I was picturing happy family dinners in that house for years to come. I was imagining Patricia finally hugging me and calling me daughter. I was imagining being part of something bigger than myself, but that was before the text message. In the 2 hours after Derek told me I wasn't welcome at the party, I made several phone calls. First, I called my lawyer, a sharp woman named Linda, who I had worked with on business contracts. I explained the situation and asked her about my options with the co-borrower agreement. She told me exactly what I needed to know, and she agreed to start preparing paperwork immediately. Then I called the mortgage company and informed them I wanted to withdraw as a co-borrower. They told me the process and what documents I would need. I requested copies of everything, every paper I had signed, every clause in every agreement. Next, I called my bank and spoke with my financial advisor. I wanted to understand all my assets, everything that was in my name versus what was in both our names. Turned out, most everything important was mine alone. The house Derek and I lived in. I bought it before we got married, so it was only in my name. My business. I built it, so it was mine. My car, my retirement accounts, most of our savings, all mine, or mostly mine. Finally, I called my brother Thomas. He's a family law attorney in another state, and even though he couldn't represent me directly, he could give me advice. I told him everything, the years of disrespect, the money given and never appreciated, the text message that finally broke me. He listened quietly, and when I finished, he said something I'll never forget. "Amber," he said, "you're not breaking this family apart. You're just finally seeing that you were never really part of it in the first place." Those words hit me hard, but they were true. I had been trying to buy my way into a family that never wanted me there, and now they had made it clear. In the house I paid for, at the party I funded, I was not wanted. Now I was pulling up to the mansion. The driveway was full of cars. Through the big windows I paid for, I could see people laughing and celebrating. I picked up my phone and sent a group text to Derek, Patricia, Joel, and Vanessa. "I'm outside. I have documents that need immediate signatures regarding the house. Legal matter, 5 minutes." I grabbed my folder and stepped out of the car. Time to crash my own party. The front door swung open before I could knock. Vanessa stood there in a tight red dress, holding a glass of wine, looking at me like I was a door-to-door salesperson who had interrupted her favourite television show. "What are you doing here?" she said, not even trying to hide the annoyance in her voice. "Derek said you weren't coming." I smiled politely, the same polite smile I had been giving this family for 7 years. "I need everyone to sign some paperwork. It's about the house." Vanessa rolled her eyes. "Seriously? Right now?" "We're in the middle of a party." "It's a legal requirement," I said calmly. "It won't take long." Before Vanessa could respond, Patricia appeared behind her. She was wearing a cream-coloured pantsuit that probably cost more money than she had any right to spend. Her face was flushed, probably from wine and the excitement of showing off her new house to all her friends. When she saw me, her expression turned cold. "This is inappropriate, Amber," she said sharply. "We're having a private family celebration." Those words stung more than she probably intended. Private family celebration. As if I wasn't family. As if I hadn't paid for every square inch of this house they were celebrating in. I kept my voice steady. "This will only take a moment. It's a legal requirement. Unless you'd prefer I have my attorney schedule a formal meeting." The word attorney worked like magic. Patricia's face changed immediately. The anger was replaced by something else. Worry, maybe, or fear. She stepped aside without another word. I walked into the house, my house technically. The one I had chosen, the one I had paid for, the one I had imagined hosting family gatherings in. Except I was never supposed to be part of those gatherings, apparently. The living room was full of people I didn't know. Patricia's friends from her book club, neighbours from the new neighbourhood, some distant relatives I had maybe met once or twice. They all looked happy, drinking wine and eating appetizers from the fancy serving platters Patricia must have bought recently. More money she didn't have. Derek appeared from the kitchen, carrying a tray of something. When he saw me, his face went completely white. The tray wobbled in his hands, and for a second I thought he might drop it. "Amber," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "What are you—" I cut him off gently. "Just some paperwork, honey. Nothing to worry about." But his eyes told me he knew there was plenty to worry about. I looked at Patricia. "I need to speak with you, Joel, Derek, and Vanessa privately. Is there somewhere we can talk?" Patricia hesitated, then nodded toward a room off the main hallway. "The study." Of course. The study with the beautiful oak desk and the built-in bookshelves. I remembered picking out that desk from the furniture store, imagining Joel sitting there doing crossword puzzles or Patricia writing letters. Such stupid, hopeful imaginings. The 5 of us filed into the study and I closed the door behind us. Joel was the last to enter, looking confused and worried. He was the only one who had genuinely thanked me for the house, the only one who had seemed truly grateful. I almost felt bad about what I was about to do. Almost. I opened my folder and spread several documents across the beautiful desk, the desk my money paid for. So, I began, keeping my voice calm and professional. I wanted to review the details of the house purchase with everyone present. Patricia crossed her arms. We already know the details, Amber. You bought us a house. Very generous. We've thanked you. Actually, I said, that's not quite accurate. I didn't buy the house outright. The room went very quiet. Even the sounds of the party outside seemed to fade away. What do you mean? Derek asked slowly. I pulled out the mortgage documents. The house cost $847,000. I put down $300,000, but the remaining $547,000 is a mortgage. A mortgage that I co-signed on. Patricia's face went from flushed to pale in about 2 seconds. What? You said this was a gift. I said I was giving you a home, I corrected her. I never said I was paying for it entirely. The mortgage is in both your names and mine. I'm legally responsible for it. In fact, I've been making the mortgage payments for the past 6 months since closing. Vanessa exploded. Why would you do that? That's not a gift. That's manipulation. I felt a flash of anger but kept it contained. Manipulation. I co-signed because your parents couldn't qualify for a mortgage on their own. Their credit scores are too low and they don't have enough income. The bank wouldn't give them a loan for a house this nice. I used my credit, my income, my financial standing to make this possible for them. Joel finally spoke, his voice quiet. I remember signing those papers. There were so many of them. Yes, I said. And one of those papers was a co-borrower agreement. I pulled it out and pointed to a specific section. This agreement states that if I, as the co-borrower providing the financial backing, choose to withdraw from the mortgage, I have the right to either transfer my obligation to another qualified party or initiate a sale of the property to settle the debt. The silence in the room was so thick I could almost touch it. I'm here to inform you that I'm withdrawing as a co-borrower, I announced, effective immediately. You can't do that, Vanessa shrieked. I can, and I am, I said calmly. You have 3 options. Option 1. Find someone else to co-sign and refinance the entire mortgage within 30 days. Option 2. Buy me out of my equity stake. That would be my $300,000 down payment plus the 6 months of mortgage payments I've made, about $18,000. So $318,000 total. Option 3. We sell the house and split whatever equity exists after paying off the mortgage and closing costs. The room erupted. Patricia started yelling about betrayal and how could I do this to them. Vanessa was calling me names I won't repeat. Derek was just staring at me like I had grown a second head. Joel sat down heavily in the desk chair, looking at the papers spread in front of him with shock and confusion. You can't do this, Patricia screamed. This is our home. You gave it to us. You can't just take it back. I'm not taking anything back, I said, my voice still calm despite my racing heart. I co-signed for a mortgage. I've been making payments. And as of today, after receiving a text message from my husband, I looked directly at Derek. Uninviting me from a celebration in a home I'm paying for, I've decided I no longer want to be financially tied to this property. Derek finally found his voice. Amber, please, let's talk about this privately. There's more, I interrupted. I pulled out another set of papers. I've also contacted an attorney about our marital assets. Since we live in a community property state, I had her review everything. And since I've been the primary financial contributor to our marriage, and since most of our major assets are in my name alone, I'm filing for legal separation. You'll receive the official paperwork tomorrow morning. The explosion that followed was like nothing I had ever experienced. Patricia was crying and screaming at the same time. Vanessa was threatening to sue me, to ruin me, to make sure everyone knew what a terrible person I was. Joel was trying to calm everyone down, but nobody was listening, and Derek just stood there, frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. I gathered my papers calmly, putting them back in my folder. I turned toward the door, ready to leave them all behind. But then I stopped and looked back at Derek one more time. "Oh, and Derek," I said. "I had the locks changed at our house. Well, my house actually, since it's titled in my name only. I bought it 2 years before we got married, remember? Your belongings will be packed and ready for pickup tomorrow evening. You can stay here with your mother. In the mansion I'm no longer paying for." Then I walked out of that study, down the hallway, past all those party guests who had stopped talking and were now staring at me with wide eyes. They must have heard the yelling. I didn't care. I held my head high, walked out the front door, got in my car, and drove away. My hands didn't start shaking until I was 3 blocks away. Then I had to pull over because I couldn't see the road through my tears. But they weren't sad tears. They were relief tears, freedom tears. I sat there in my car crying and laughing at the same time, probably looking like a crazy person to anyone who drove past. I had done it. I had actually done it. The next few days were strange. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. Derek called 27 times the first day alone. Patricia called, Vanessa called, even some of Patricia's friends called to tell me what a horrible person I was. I blocked most of the numbers. The ones I didn't block, I just ignored. I took 2 days off work, something I never did. I met with Linda, my attorney, and we went through everything in detail. She was impressed with how much documentation I had gathered. "You've made this very easy," she told me. "Most people don't think clearly when they're emotional." But you did. I also met with a financial advisor to make sure I understood exactly where I stood. The news was better than I expected. My business was doing well. My personal savings, while depleted from the house down payment, would recover. And since Derek's name wasn't on most of our assets, the separation would be financially cleaner than it could have been. I even started seeing a therapist. Her name was Dr. Chen, and she was kind and straightforward. "You've been conditioned to accept poor treatment," she told me in our first session. "You equated love with financial support. That's not love, that's a transaction." Her words hit hard, but they were true. On the 3rd day after the party, something happened that changed everything again. I came home from a therapy session to find an envelope taped to my front door. Just a plain white envelope with my name written on it in shaky handwriting I recognized as Joel's. Inside was a letter and a stack of printed papers. I sat down on my couch and started reading. "Dear Amber," the letter began. "I should have told you this years ago, but I was a coward. I let Patricia control everything, including how we treated you. I watched her be cold to you, and I said nothing. I watched Vanessa take advantage of you, and I said nothing. I told myself it wasn't my place to interfere. But after what happened at the party, after watching you walk out with your head held high while we all screamed at you like animals, I realized I couldn't stay silent anymore. You deserve to know the truth, all of it." My heart started pounding. I set the letter down and looked at the papers. They were printouts of text messages. Lots of text messages, between Patricia and Derek, between Derek and Vanessa, between all 3 of them, actually. The messages went back 18 months. I read them slowly, carefully, each one making me feel sicker than the last. Patricia to Derek: "You need to get control of Amber's money. She's your wife, not your boss." Derek to Patricia: "I know, Mom, I'm working on it." Patricia to Derek: "Work faster. Get her to buy us a house, then we can start phase 2. Phase 2? I kept reading. Vanessa to Derek: "Once Mom has the house, we start working on Amber to fund my business. A real business this time, not that small stuff. Something big." Derek to Vanessa: "She's already suspicious about the money you borrowed before. We need to be careful." Vanessa to Derek: "That's why the house was genius. Once she's invested that much in the family, she won't be able to say no to smaller requests. She'll be trapped." Trapped. They used that word. Trapped. I kept reading, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold the papers. Patricia to Derek. Next step is getting her to add me to your bank accounts. For emergencies, you'll say. Then we have access to everything. Derek to Patricia. I'll talk to her about it after the housewarming party. She'll be feeling good about the family then. But the worst messages were yet to come. These were from about 6 months ago. Patricia to Derek. If you can't control her, then maybe it's time to think about an exit strategy. Document everything. Make it look like she's the problem. Then, when you divorce her, you can claim you deserve half of everything, including her business. I stopped breathing. Actually stopped breathing for a few seconds. Derek's response. How would that even work? The business is in her name. Patricia to Derek. Community property laws. You've been married 7 years. You supported her emotionally while she built the business. You deserve compensation. I've already talked to a lawyer friend about it. It's possible. Derek to Patricia. Let me think about it. I don't want to lose everything if it doesn't work. Patricia to Derek. You won't lose. You'll gain. Trust me. I set the papers down. My whole body felt numb. The man I married, the man I loved and supported and worked myself sick for, had been plotting with his mother to exploit me financially and then throw me away. The house wasn't a gift they accepted graciously. It was part of a plan. A trap. Just like Vanessa said, that text message telling me not to come to the party, it wasn't just rudeness, it was part of a pattern. Isolate me. Make me feel like I didn't belong. Keep me off balance and desperate for approval. Also, I would keep giving them money while they planned to take everything. I picked up Joel's letter again and read the rest. I found these messages on Patricia's iPad last week. She doesn't know I saw them. I've been trying to figure out what to do with them. After the party, after seeing what they did to you, I knew I had to give them to you. I'm sorry, Amber. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. You were nothing but kind and generous to us, and we treated you terribly. Patricia is my wife and Derek is my son, but what they did to you is wrong. You needed to know the truth. I hope these help you in whatever legal matters are coming. You deserve better than all of us. I'm ashamed of my family, and I'm ashamed of myself. Joel. I sat there for a long time holding those papers. Part of me wanted to scream. Part of me wanted to cry. But mostly I felt validated. Everything I had suspected, every feeling I had pushed down and told myself was unfair or paranoid, it was all real. It was all true. They had been using me, planning to use me more. And if I hadn't received that text message, if I hadn't finally stood up for myself, they would have succeeded. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer it, but something made me pick up. Hi, is this Amber? A woman's voice asked, young, nervous. Yes, I said carefully. My name is Claire. I'm Derek's girlfriend. I was. I think we need to talk. I met Claire the next morning at a coffee shop across town, somewhere I knew Derek would never go. She was younger than me, maybe 28 or 29, with long dark hair and nervous eyes. She was pretty in a simple way, wearing jeans and a sweater, twisting a napkin in her hands as I sat down across from her. Thank you for meeting me, she said quietly. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't, I admitted. But I'm curious why Derek's girlfriend wants to talk to me. She flinched at the word girlfriend. I didn't know, she said quickly. I swear I didn't know he was married. He told me he was divorced. He said his ex-wife was making his life difficult, fighting him over money in the house. He made it sound like you were... I'm sorry, I feel so stupid. I studied her face. She looked genuinely upset, genuinely sorry. I realized I wasn't angry at her. How could I be? She was another person Derek had lied to. How did you find out? I asked. Vanessa's social media posts, Claire said. After your confrontation at the party, she posted all this stuff about a cruel ex-wife who was trying to steal her parents' house. But she used your full name. I looked you up and saw wedding photos, recent wedding photos. Derek and I have been seeing each other for 4 months, and you two got married 7 years ago. The math didn't work. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. I confronted him. He tried to lie at first, said those were old photos, that you were technically still married but separated. But I kept pushing, and he finally admitted the truth. So I ended it. And then I thought you should know. Because if he lied to me, he's probably lying to you too. He is, I said. But I already knew about the lying, just not about you. Claire's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry. I would never. If I had known he was married, I never would have gone out with him. My parents are divorced because my dad cheated on my mum. I saw what that did to her. I would never want to be the other woman. You're not the other woman, I told her. You're another victim of Derek's lies. She wiped her eyes and looked at her phone. I have screenshots of our conversations. Some of them are pretty bad. He said a lot of things about you that I now realize were lies. But maybe they could help you? In the divorce? She turned her phone toward me. I started reading the messages between her and Derek, and with each one, my disgust grew deeper. Derek to Claire. My ex-wife thinks she owns me because she makes more money. She controls everything. Derek to Claire. I can't wait until this is all settled and I can finally be free. Free to be with someone who actually respects me. Derek to Claire. She's making the divorce as difficult as possible, taking everything even though she doesn't need it. Some people are just greedy. All of this while he was living in my house, eating food I paid for, driving a car I helped buy. All of this while he was plotting with his mother to take my business, my money, my everything. But the worst message was one from just a week ago. Derek to Claire. Once I get through this divorce, I'll finally have some money. My lawyer says I'm entitled to half of everything she built during the marriage. It's community property. I supported her emotionally while she worked, so I deserve compensation. We could take a trip somewhere nice once it's all settled. Anywhere you want to go. He was already planning how to spend my money with another woman. Money he hadn't earned. Money from a business he had nothing to do with building. And he was calling it getting through this divorce like I was the one who had forced this situation, when his own mother's text messages showed they had been planning to divorce me for months. Can you send me these screenshots? I asked Claire. She nodded and asked for my number. Within seconds, my phone was buzzing with incoming messages, evidence, proof, documentation of Derek's lies, his manipulation, his plans. Why are you helping me? I asked her. You don't even know me. Claire looked down at her hands. Because it's the right thing to do, and because I saw his face when I confronted him with the truth. He wasn't sorry. He wasn't ashamed. He was just angry that he got caught. That's when I knew he didn't actually care about me. I was just useful to him. Like you were. Like everyone is to him. She was right. That was exactly what we were to Derek and his family. Useful. Tools to be used and discarded when we were no longer needed. We talked for another hour. Claire told me about Derek's lies, the ways he had manipulated her, the excuses he made for why he couldn't introduce her to his family yet. It was sad how similar our stories were, just from different angles. When we finally said goodbye, Claire hugged me. I hope you take everything from him, she whispered. He deserves it. I went straight to Linda's office with the new evidence. She looked through Claire's screenshots and Joel's text message printouts with growing excitement. This is excellent, she said. Evidence of infidelity, evidence of planned financial exploitation, evidence of intentional manipulation. Amber, his case just fell apart. Derek tried to fight the divorce at first. He claimed he deserved half of my business because he had supported me emotionally during our marriage. His lawyer argued that he had sacrificed his own career advancement to be there for me. It was ridiculous, but they tried. Then Linda presented all the evidence. The text messages showing Derek and Patricia planning to exploit me. The screenshots from Claire showing Derek's infidelity and his plans to spend divorce money on vacations with his girlfriend. The timeline showing how Derek had been lying to multiple people for months. Derek's lawyer looked at the evidence and advised him to settle. The case was unwinnable. Derek knew it too. We settled out of court. Derek got a small portion of our shared savings, money that was genuinely earned during our marriage. But he got nothing from my business, nothing from the house, nothing from my retirement accounts. Just enough to start over somewhere else, which was more than he deserved. Patricia had one last outburst. She actually showed up at my office building, screaming in the lobby about how I had destroyed her family, stolen her home, and ruined her son's life. Security removed her while she yelled that I would regret this, that everyone would know what kind of person I really was. But I didn't regret it. Not even for a second. The mansion sold 3 months later. Patricia and Joel couldn't refinance without me, and they certainly couldn't afford to buy me out. The house sold for $865,000. After paying off the mortgage and real estate fees, and returning my down payment plus the mortgage payments I had made, Patricia and Joel walked away with about $15,000 total. They moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment across town. Vanessa had to move in with a friend because she couldn't afford her own place anymore. Her business plans never materialized without access to my wallet. Joel called me one last time, about a month after everything was settled.